The newer cars being driven around Southern California freeways sport state-of-the-art technology like Bluetooth, GPS, and cellular connectivity. Cars are becoming increasingly computerized and connected to the internet. That has a UC San Diego researcher asking some interesting questions. KPBS business reporter Erik Anderson joins me to talk about the confluence of technology that creates a window of risk. Erik, tell us about how cars have changed over the decades.
Cars are not just the mechanical machines that many people grew up with, my age anyway. It's not just a hydraulic machine that works now. There are a lot of integrated systems that work together to improve safety. Airbags, for example, the windows that roll up and down on your car, things about tire pressure. All those systems are now run by computers. And the interesting thing is that, and this is what a UC San Diego systems researcher found, Stefan Savage, he said the interesting thing is now that cars are becoming not only increasingly computerized, but they're also becoming increasingly connected to the internet.
There's a misimpression that when you place your foot on the accelerator, that you are actually allowing the gas to go to the engine. In fact, you are telling a computer you would like to go faster. It is making the decision as to how much gas and oxygen and so forth to apply to the engine. And these are for very good reasons. It's for improved mileage performance, it's for better safety. But the consequence of everything being computerized, coupled with this secondary evolution, which is that cars are increasingly networked externally to the outside world, whether it's Bluetooth or cellular or so forth, means that the same kind of risks that we worry about with our PCs, we have to start to think about attacks coming into our cars.
And of course, the computer software that's written into these car systems hasn't been prepared like the computer software on your desktop. Your computer on your desktop deals with attacks all the time, with spam, with the possibility of worms or viruses. Cars not quite prepared in the same way. They haven't written the code for that yet, and that sort of poses the risk.
So, Erik, how did this issue come up in the first place?
Well, Stefan worked with a group of researchers at the University of Washington over the course of last year, and they decided, the question came up, if these systems are increasingly computerized, is there a risk? They wanted to find out. So they kind of reverse engineered some of these systems to gain access to them. And they put out a paper last summer that outlined some of the potential, some of the risks that are there.
We have built demonstrations where we take over a car 1,000 miles away and track where it goes and listen to everything that's said and then turn off its brakes. And so that it's feasible to do that with unmodified commercial vehicles. As to whether or not anyone is actually doing this, I'm unaware of it, and I can't think of a motivation for someone to do it right now.
But of course, there are creative people who listen to something like this and hear something like this and think about the possibilities. And I think that what concerns people here is if you can turn off a car's brakes or turn off the brakes of a lot of cars, perhaps during a rush hour, what might the impact be on a large metropolitan area if there is, for example, another sort of incident going on and first responders are trying to get to help? It might create a problem in that direction. Now, the car manufacturers are very concerned about this. Of course, they've taken this very seriously. And they've taken the step of preparing the software inside the cars to better deal with the potential threats.
So practically speaking, for all of the drivers out there with these cars, what are the real risks that they have to worry about?
Well, the real risk is not anything you have to worry about immediately. I think it's what you look at down the road. But people are looking at the problem, people are concerned about the problem, and of course they're working on the problem. If everything goes as well, they'll perhaps separate some of the systems in the cars so that if you gain access to the Bluetooth, you might not have access to the system that operates the brakes of the car, and et cetera. There are things that can be done, and the automobile industry very much clued into that.
KPBS business reporter Erik Anderson.
Thanks, Joanne.